Hi everyone, and welcome to TLDR Week 14, Detecting and Managing Infections. So by the end of this week, you should be able to talk about the symptoms of a suspected infection, some of the types of threats, talk a little bit about the software for malware detection, talk about how to clean the system, and how to start from the beginning if cleaning isn't an option. Now, to be able to tell that there's an issue, it's possible that you might have an issue that your antivirus wouldn't pick up. Hopefully, you all have antivirus. Some indicators that you have a problem on your system include your system running very slowly, pop-ups happening even beyond when you are on a page. So for example, if you are on a web page and you have a single pop-up ad, that's probably just a bad ad. But if you are on a page and you have pop-ups that aren't stopping, multiple pop-ups happening, or pop-ups happening even when you aren't on the web, that's concerning. You might also have unusual activity happening on your computer, program starting, your computer fan going crazy, even though you're not really doing anything. Redirected web pages. Now, what I mean by this, there is currently some problems where there are malicious ads that are taking over web pages. Now, these actually don't mean that your machine has been taken over as long as you don't click anywhere. What happens is you go to a web page, you are there for, 30 seconds or a minute, whatever, and then the ad will redirect you to a malicious page, and that's generally going to be something like, congrats, you're the millionth person to come here, or you win an iPhone. Redirected web pages that you should be concerned about is going to be things like ads on pages that don't have ads, like, say, Wikipedia. You also might want to be concerned if you're trying to go to somewhere like, let's say, Google, and it's not actually taking you to Google. That might mean you have a DNS problem. You might see that you have connections to unknown machines. So if you look at the connections and the packets going in and out, then you might see that you are connecting to machines in strange places in the world that you weren't really expecting to connect to. Now, these viruses or malware can be any number of things. We could have just plain viruses that have been installed, like you get a pop-up that says, click here to clean your phone, install this app. Those kind of viruses. We might end up seeing different types of adware and Trojans. If you go back to the week where we talked about the different kinds of malware, I went into a little bit more detail about the differences. But any of these, including rootkits, are the things that we are trying to avoid because it means something bad has happened to your computer. Now, excuse me, if we were working in a corporate environment and we have a corporate computer that has a problem, as in the company has given you a computer, they're going to do a wipe and reimage. And the reason that they do this is because it is significantly faster to wipe and reimage than try to track down all of the potential problems. Almost every company of enough size to give you a computer is going to have an image. And this computer image is basically a perfectly set up computer for what they want. So they're going to have programs installed, settings done a specific way. They might have a full disk encryption that they want to set up. They're going to have a specific plan of what the computer should look like. And when a company buys new computers, they will generally take the time to image each of these computers before sending it out to make sure that there isn't anything funny on there. So if you buy a computer, you're probably going to get a bunch of bloatware on there. Companies don't want to deal with that, so they just wipe and reimage. In general, if there are any problems with a computer, slowdowns, ads, potential viruses, most companies are going to do wipe and reimage as the first thing that they do. This means anything you had on that computer is gone. Anything that you had on there that's personal, which you shouldn't be saving personal stuff on a corporate machine, but anything that's on there is gone and wiped. Now at home, you have a few more choices. You can afford to potentially spend a little bit more time trying to fix what's happened. The first thing that you want to do is a backup. You want to do a backup to make sure that if you had anything on that computer that was important, you have a copy. You want to be careful doing the backup because you do not want to back up the actual virus. You want to make sure that you're just backing up your, files and stuff, and make sure you check them with another antivirus before saving them somewhere else, or save them somewhere and then check the place that you've saved them. The next thing you want to do is disconnect from the internet. So what you're going to do is, for the computer that we have a suspected virus on, disconnect from the internet, start in safe mode, and then you're going to end up doing a lot of stuff through USB. So you can do things like one-time analyzers, and you can actually download these, get a fresh download, pop it on a USB. You can download if you want all three of these. And then you're going to run them on the computer that has the suspected infection. You want to make sure that you're always using a clean, fresh download. There's also some tools where you can actually create a little sort of USB toolkit and do something like, Hiren's Boot CD, and you can have more variety there if you want more variety. These are just a couple well-known popular ones as of right now. The next thing that you're going to do is check for adware. So you're going to try adware and Spybot, or if there's another one that's become more popular, that's fine too. And you want to check your computer for adware. Technically, adware isn't the same as a virus, but it's very much in gray area. So a virus is going to, or malware is going to maliciously try to do things to your computer. Adware isn't necessarily trying to be malicious, they're just trying to serve you ads, but from a user perspective, they're both annoying and you probably don't want them. Then you need to check for rootkits. Now, rootkits on home machines are very unlikely. Most rootkits are on servers. It is enough work to create and install a rootkit that most people aren't going to bother with this for just random person's home machine. They're going to save that kind of effort for high value targets. Now, if you would like to try checking for a rootkit anyway, that is still a good choice. It doesn't hurt anything. I have 2 suggestions for rootkits, rootkit checkers up on here. You can take the links, go check it out, and this is worth taking the 5 minutes, 10 minutes that it takes to do it, just in case. Just don't be surprised, you probably don't have a rootkit. Now, let's say you don't want to do this in the future. If you're doing a proper cleanup of a computer, you're probably going to invest maybe half an hour to an hour or more, depending on how bad it is. If you're doing this for friends and family, they might not be checking very often, so it might take several hours. Things that you can do to stop this in the future. You want to make sure you set up regular antivirus scans. Make sure that your antivirus is updated and active. Only have one antivirus on your machine. This is not a case where more is better. Having 2 or more antivirus programs on your machine, they'll actually get in the way of each other, and you don't want that. So just pick one. One of the free ones is completely fine. And make sure you have it on there, make sure you update, make sure you're running it. If you're putting this on someone else's machine, you can even do things like make sure that the antivirus is scanning at weird times of day. 2 a.m., 10 p.m., 1 p.m., whatever is the time that you're not using the computer, and make sure that it's automatically updated as much as possible. As a side note, free antivirus, because most of them go based off of the database fingerprinting that we talked about earlier. Free antivirus and paid antivirus are close enough that you really don't need to pay for it. The thing that you have to watch with free antivirus is they want to try to trick you into paying. So you have to make sure that you're careful with which one you're installing and that you are getting the free version. And it's going to try to say, wouldn't you like to pay for this now? And try to sort of force you into paying for it. But most antivirus companies do have free versions that you can continue using, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that. You want to make sure that you do regular adware scans. So the adware scanners that you had from before, make sure you're doing that on a semi-regular basis. Make sure that you have a firewall set up. And make sure that you're doing general safe computing. Make sure that you are not doing things like downloading random programs from random sites. Make sure that you aren't, sort of going places on the web that are, shall we say, less than safe. Make sure that if you are, for example, torrenting legal operating systems, that you are sticking to legal operating systems and not going for poison torrents. It's also important for safe computing that you have backups. Ransomware has become more and more of a problem, and the best way to fix ransomware is a wipe and reimage. It is possible that you might be able to pull the ransomware off the computer, but it's very difficult, it's very time consuming, and it's really hard to know that you got it all. So it's actually better to do a full wipe and reimage and make sure that you have your backups. And make sure that your backups haven't also been tagged with ransomware. Now, if you're going to be doing this a lot, either for yourself or family, it's worth creating a portable USB for cleaning computers so that you sort of have your entire toolbox there. There's some software that's free that you can put this together. You can just have a lot of places will give, free branded USBs. You can take one of those. Most of these programs aren't big. And then you have a place that you can put these programs, download the fresh copies that need them, and do things like put an antivirus on there so you can check your backups. And then you can always have this little toolkit with you. It's a really nice thing that you can do as part of your everyday carry. Now, there are a couple more things that you can do. However, warning, oh, the warnings. So, there are some things that you can do, including delete on boot and hijack this, that can give you a, shall we say, more thorough cleaning of the computer. However, it is also much more likely that you're going to bork your entire system doing this. So, if you want to try, say, hijack this and start playing with Windows registries, I strongly recommend that you do this on a junk computer, that if you completely screw up, it's okay, at least for the first couple times. These are not necessarily intuitive programs, and the amount of damage that you can do, I am not kidding, where I say if you do the wrong thing in the Windows registry, your computer will stop booting and you'll have to do a complete and total fresh install of Windows. No ifs, ands, or buts. So there's some damage that you can do here, and you want to be really careful if you're going to go this path. You can just be careful and practice and make sure that you understand the danger that you're putting yourself in and make sure that you think the risk is worth it. Please let me know if you have any questions.